The peripheral vision is the broader vision. It's our ability to see out of the corner of our eye. We are able to see things outside of our direct line without having to turn our heads when we sense, and we can sense the slight movements here and there, and we can detect everything, even if you're busy watching a movie. So being able to broaden your horizon, imaging, moving, expanding the world around the problem, going broader and broader and broader, enables you to put the problem to where it belongs and not so big that the world becomes the problem. Start to see the other opportunities and solutions in life. A client once came to me because he had a problem with his dad. He would always say that he hates him because he's a selfish person. Why? Because he's not giving him money to start his own business. Every time he asks for it, the father replies he can't, and would suggest, the guy would suggest to sell the house if he had no money, to which obviously he would always say no. So there was a lot of friction between father and son. And he was furious with his dad, always blaming him, really hateful towards him, fixated on the idea that my father loved money more than his own son. Now, his mother had died during Corona, and him and his dad used to live together. I started asking questions. So who cooks for you guys? He goes, it's his responsibility. I asked, have you ever cooked? He said, no, he always makes sure that the dinner is there. I asked, so what do you do? He said, I work from home. My job is good. I asked, oh, so you have a job? And he said, yes. I asked, so you don't have to actually go to office or have a commute problem or something? And he said, no, I don't. I said, but what about your dad? He said, he goes to the shop. He has a business. I asked, so you must be working for a long time. Have you even finished your studies? And he said, oh, I have. And it's only been 2 years since I'm working. I asked, so how did you pay for your college? Took a loan? He said, no. I asked him, then how? He said, my father paid for all my studies. Now, as I was going broader and broader, his face and eyes were bowing down, more like, sharmindagi ki tarah, muh niche ka niche aa raha tha. And he was not able to see me eye to eye. And I asked about his childhood, the toys that he used to love and had, because, what kind of life did he have? He had a good childhood. I asked, so how was this house that you want to sell me? Who built it? He said, my father. There never came a day when I was afraid that I won't have a house or we had to leave. So as I was going on and on and on, in the end, my reframe to his problem was, now listen to this. Okay, now this is the problem. This is the reframe that literally shook his model of the world. I told him that you hate your dad because he's not giving you money to start your business. And he loves his son so much that he's willing to take his son's hatred just because he wants a boy to become a man. Here, half of my work was done. The angle through which he was looking at the problem now was changed. Now, to be able to think creatively and find unconventional solutions, we need to practice. This is true whether you work in therapy, whether you are working in education or business, even at home with your partners, kids, or friends. Think creatively, think outside of the box. One of the most important skills we can develop is the ability to reframe problems by stretching our brain and thinking differently from the way we are or anybody else is presenting the problem. It is going, up the logical level where the client is at. So your ability to think outside of the box is what's going to give your client, you or anyone that you are around, the most flexibility to make changes. Now let's come to another way of reframing. Another way to change the lens is by changing the context of the problem, by changing what is happening around the problem. By changing the context, we change the meaning, which is to say that all meaning is dependent upon the context in which it is appearing. All of our language, all the words in the dictionary, their definitions are based on the context. For example, what I mean by changing the context and how does the meaning change? Let's take an example that wearing a swimsuit clothes on beach is fine. But if you change the context from beach to office, it is absolutely wrong. Let's change the context further. Take a woman wearing a typical swimsuit from a beach in US and bring her to a beach in, let's say, Pakistan. Now it's still a swimsuit at a beach, but now the context is the change in the country. It's not acceptable at the beach anymore. The meaning of wearing the swimsuit changes when the context changes. So let me help you more understand it better with examples. Let's take an example when we discuss while talking about the storm. So let's say if the man says, I'm too scared of the storm. Now the reframe by changing the context would look like this. Well, you must have a great instinct. If there is a poisonous snake in front of you, would you rather get scared and run away from it to protect yourself or go towards it and get bitten? Your friends and family are so lucky to have such a sensible and protective person keeping them out of danger. You see what I did there? I changed the meaning of him feeling bad about being scared of the storms and made it mean something more empowering and feel good by changing the context of him getting scared. Another example. A man said, my wife takes forever to decide on the things. She has to look at every dress in the store and compare them all before she selects one. It's so frustrating. So the reframe is, so she's very careful about decisions. Isn't it tremendous compliment that out of all the men in the world, she chose you? Again, the action is the same. What she's doing is the same, taking time to decide, taking her good, sweet time to decide. But now whenever he looks at her doing the same, another meaning comes into his mind. And the level of frustration is now gone. Once I had a client who came up to me very confused, sad and angry all the time. We started the session, the problem was something like this, I'm too soft. I'm too soft-hearted. I see other people reacting so strongly to the mistakes. I wish I was strong and courageous, but I was always the softer. I would always take the softer approach. I wish I was, I was more out loud, and I want to change that, but I don't think that I can because that's not who I am. So this is how the reframing was given. I understand that. This makes me think how wonderful a father you would be like. Your kids would have so much to learn from you. The patience, the wisdom, the self-control, the kindness, how to respond and not to react. You are a great role model for them in this aspect. And with that shift in the context, a shift inside him was visible, of course. Now, what you want to do in case of context reframe is you want to ask yourself, what's the another context for this behavior where the meaning of the behavior will be different, or where the person will respond differently to the same behavior? Or in what context would this particular behavior have some value? In the examples discussed that I gave you, the man is still scared of the storm, the wife is still too picky, the man is still too soft-hearted, But the behaviors have a different value when put in a different context, and suddenly the problem is not a problem for them anymore. At least it's not that severe. The boundary wall, the model of the world has been loosened, has been shaken. So this is how we change the angle or perspective by changing the context. Now let's move further. Another way to change the angle through which we look at things is to change the meaning of the problem itself. We keep the context there, but we change the meaning of the problem. Like if people have sensory experience that they don't like, what they don't like is the response to it. If you can change the experience, that means to them, their response will also change. So here you leave the context the same and put another piece of meaning around it. Like, you know, the world does not change, but what it means changes. Don't worry, I know if it's getting a little bit difficult, I'll help you understand with the examples again. So here, if the man says, storms make me scared. Now reframe. Just notice how the meaning shifts. I told him, I read somewhere, very brave. And that was very brave. The man said, the devil whispered in my ear, you are not strong enough to withstand the storm. Today I whispered in the devil's ear, I am the storm. And from that point onwards, I gain power and strength from it, pretending that I am the storm. So you see now the meaning has changed. This is how you can reframe using meaning. Another one, let's take another one. The problem is, I get mad whenever she makes that face. Very common in relationship problems, by the way. So the reframing that I gave was, it's so adorable that you love that face so much that a tiny twitch makes you feel that way. You must love her very much. That changed it. Whenever she would look at that face or making that face, he would be reminded of that I love her so much. I love that face so much that even if she twitches a little bit, I don't like it. So instead of seeing it through rage and through frustration and through anger, he was looking at the same thing. The problem had a different meaning now. Another example. One of my clients, a lady comes in very angry and frustrated. I asked, what's the problem? She says, I have a huge task list that I have to follow every day. I have to take care of the kids. I have to take care of my husband, the house, my work. The checklist is always on my mind. I get tired, frustrated, even thinking about it. I wish I could escape from it all. I don't want that. Now this is how I reframe. Yes, I understand. It does get frustrated. Let me share something special. You must have heard about a very successful Australian motivational speaker, Nicholas James. He was born without fully formed limbs and he was bullied at school because of it. According to his autobiography, his mother refused to see him or hold him when the nurse held him in front of her. And she and her husband went out of the hospital. Anyways, he finished his high school, got graduated with double majors, wrote many books, does bodybuilding, swimming, traveling, seminars, all kinds of activities without any hands and limbs. Remember that, exactly without any limbs. I'm sorry. So in one of the seminars, someone asked him if he were to give an advice to someone, what would that be? And he said, I keep hearing complaints from people that are born with full body parts about the things that you're supposed to do with them, saying things like, I have to walk to office, I have to take swimming lessons, I have to do that, I have to climb the stairs, I have to drive my kids to school every day, I have to play with my kids, I have to do this and I have to do that. And what surprises me the most is that they are unhappy. Then he pointed at himself and said, look at me. You all get to use your arms and legs to do all these things because you have your arms and legs. Imagine one day without them. And then he said, life changes when you change your have to get to. And with all of that, a lot of things were going on in that woman's mind. I could see from her face. So we can reframe by aiming to alter the sensory response that we have to the problem. Changing the meaning by noticing something that was out of our awareness, that was unnoticed. Now, please understand that the problems are the stories that we tell to ourselves. The reasons, the blames, the excuses are all stories. And those stories, they come from beliefs. And what is belief? A belief is nothing but a feeling of absolute certainty about what something means. When you believe that you're pretty, you are certain that you're pretty. When you believe that you are a procrastinator, you are certain that you will procrastinate. When you believe in one God, you are certain that there is only one God. And in the same way, when you believe that someone is a liar, you will find a way to prove yourself that he is a liar. To the point that if he calls you and asks you, oh, come, let's have tea, and he offers you coffee instead, you will put that act in his list of lies amongst every lie that you choose to believe. Most of our beliefs, we are not even aware of. But we believe them to be 100% true with 100% certainty. And our mind will show you what you believe in. It will provide you with all the evidence to support your beliefs. This is what generalization, distortion, and deletion is, the three filters that we talked about earlier. Hasiba, I have 14 minutes. Can I go a little bit overboard over the time?
Yes, completely, ma'am, you can.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'll just try to finish it quickly. And understand that certainty is what leads to action. And when there is uncertainty, it will lead to inaction, doubts, fears, and everything in between. It is said that you will find what you seek. Always. Whether you look for the negative or whether you look for the positive, you will find what you're looking for. Our brain is designed to cherry pick, delete, distort, and generalize to give you exactly what you look for. Let's do an exercise quickly. Everyone, do this with me. I'm giving you 15 seconds to look around in the room and count as many green things that you can. Hurry up. All the green things that you can find everywhere. Everything green. Look up, look down, look back, look on the sides. All the green things. Green, 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 green. How many green things can you find? Notice and just remember. Green, green. Now I want you to close your eyes. Close your eyes and tell me all the things that were red in the room. You can't remember red? I'm asking for red, but you were looking for green. Open your eyes and just, again now. Open your eyes. Now I want you to look around in your room, around you, on your skin, everywhere. Look for anything that is red. Red, 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 red. How many of you can find now more red than before you were looking for it? Do you get it? So you will find what you're looking for, what you're focused on. Wherever your focus goes, your energy flows. So your energy, your mind, everything will be put on the things that you are focusing on. Now it brings me to a point where I can say that a great way to reframe for change is to reframe your beliefs. The story that you tell yourself about not finding the one yet, not getting a right job, not being able to finish things, having a bad relationship. Change that story. Change your story, change your life. If I were to ask you, what is life? What will you say? Just a few answers in the chat box. What is life to you? What does life mean to you? Some people might say life is a blessing, life is a struggle, life is a challenge, life is a party, life is a dance, life is a journey, life is a test. All these things, beautiful journey, exactly. Learning new things. Wonderful. Life is a place for learning. So now I want to ask you, what is exactly life? Life could be all of these things that you are saying or telling. It is all true. But this one specifically is true for you because you chose it to be true. Because you chose that for you. And let me tell you one thing. Whatever you see, whoever says that life is challenges, trust me, they will see the life and everything happening inside the life as a challenge. They have a challenge to overcome. They have a challenge to overcome. Even the tiniest task, even the everyday things that they have to do, they will seem to him or her as a challenge. If they say it's a test, you will see tests everywhere. If you say it's a learning process, you will see learning everywhere. So this is how you change your story. Now you need to, if you sit with yourself and see what your story is, what your story about life is. Get your stories right about all aspects in life. The story that fills you with energy, that empowers you, that makes you feel confident, happy, and blessed. And you will see that it will start happening in your life. Now, last but not definitely the least, the biggest motivator that fills you with energy, that empowers you, that makes you feel confident, happy, and blessed, that makes you feel, like with 100% certainty, is what you attach to your identity. Your identity is the biggest motivator. No one can make you do anything which you believe you're not. Reframe all the things that you have made part of your identity. Write them down, good and bad. Take all the bad things and convert. Let me give this trick to you. Convert those nouns into verbs. For example, if I say I am a procrastinator, this is a bad thing, right? I'm a procrastinator. What if I were to say I procrastinated? Now, can you see the shift in these two things? I am a procrastinator becomes a part of me that I cannot change. And when I say I procrastinated, this gives me the power to change it. This gives me the power to, have control over it. So all the bad things, change those nouns into verbs so that they become temporary, they become workable, they come into your control. Another thing before going, I would also suggest you to Google transformational vocabulary. Google it. There is such a beautiful list of transformational vocabulary available on Google. Use that. What it does is that, for example, instead of saying, I am so depressed right now, and I am so against using these cliched words, depressed and narcissistic personality, and people are labeling them every time. We understood, we discussed that, the word depressed is not just mean, it doesn't mean just sad, because we think it might be like just sad, but we know the meaning of the word depression through the movies, through the people who have got depressed, through other people. We know exactly how their body language is. We know exactly how they feel, how they look like, what they do. So even if you are feeling a little bit sad and you are labeling yourself as depressed, you will go into depression. Because your body and mind knows what depression is. And when you tell yourself enough that you're depressed, you will get depressed. So change that. Transformational vocabulary, instead of saying depressed, you can say that, I'm feeling a little bit sad right now. This means now again the shift changes. Again, the problem becomes very small. Instead of saying, I am full of rage right now. Instead of saying that, try this. Whenever you are in full-blown anger, tell yourself out loud, I'm a little worked up on this. And you will see your anger vanishing, your anger coming down. And use the opposite when you have to feel good. If you say, how do you feel about it? We are very unfair with these kind of situations. When we have to feel good about it, how do you feel about it? Yeah, it's good. Use, I'm excited. I'm up for it. Let's do this. I'm looking forward. And you will see the change it brings.
Hello, Assalamualaikum.
Welcome, Salam.
Ma'am, can I say something?
Yeah.
मैम जैसे आप बता रहे हो इन सिचुएशन ऑफ एवरी केस, जैसे कि मैरिज गर्ल्स होती हैं और आपको पता है कि उनकी सिचुएशंस कुछ इस तरह की होती है कि उन्होंने रहना भी उधर ही है और जो उनके साथ प्रॉब्लम्स होती हैं यू नो डैट कि वो तो एक चल रही होती है कि वो कभी ख़त्म नहीं होती। तो अगर उनको जैसे मेरे पास भी अगर 2-3 ऐसे हैं केसेस जिनको मैं ये चीज़ कहती हूँ कि आप बियर करो, अंडरस्टैंड करो या इस चीज़ों को, एक सर्टेन टाइम तक वो चीज़ होती है, बट वो एक इंसान का पेशेंट लेवल होता है, वो कब तक वो चीज़ को करे और फिर उसके बाद वो एक ख़त्म हो जाती है। तो वो रहना भी वही है, सिचुएशन को भी चेंज करना है और चलना भी है, तो इन सब चीज़ों को वो कैसे डील करे?
यार ये एक बिल्कुल अलग टॉपिक है, लेकिन एज आई सेड बिफोर के रिफ्रेमिंग इज जस्ट वन टूल, ठीक है, लेकिन इट्स अ ह्यूज टूल। वो मैं रिलेशनशिप्स का इंशाल्लाह आगे मेरा पूरा प्रोग्राम बना, उसमें मैं जरूर बताऊंगी एंड आई विल टच दीस टॉपिक्स। बट द थिंग टू अंडरस्टैंड हियर इज, सबसे पहले ये कि हम दूसरों को चेंज नहीं कर सकते, हम सिर्फ अपने आप को चेंज कर सकते हैं। सो वी नीड टू बी फ्लेक्सिबल एंड रिजिलिएंट इनफ कि व्हाटएवर इज कमिंग आवर वे वी आर एबल टू हैंडल इट। दिस मीन्स कि हमने अपना पावर, अपने स्टेट, अपने इमोशंस का कंट्रोल किसी और के हाथ में दिया हुआ है। रिमोट उनके हाथ में है, वो चाहें तो वो हमें खुश करें, वो चाहें तो हमें, वो नहीं होता कि who is driving your bus, somebody else is driving your bus।